Ichiro Suzuki.
The possibility of Ichiro getting in 2 years.
What would be the first of its kind, a Japanese inductee.
Ichiro with a home run and his final appearance here at Safeco Field.
He's climbed the mountain. He has arrived at 3,000.
You know, he's had a great career, Hall of Fame, first ballot for me.
I mean, I got first ballot Hall of Famer for CC Sabathia.
Swing and a miss. Ball game. Sabathia finishes with his 11th.
You know, when you're playing, you know who Hall of Famers are.
For me, you know, getting to 3,000 strikeouts mean that you have to be pretty good at the back end of your career.
Strikeout number 3,000.
Messages that I've been getting from friends and family and, you know, people all around. It's been fun.
Talking about the Hall of Fame ballot, which has been sent out this week, the official announcement earlier this week. And here's the full ballot. At the very top, there's 3 players from last year who were within striking distance: Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltrán. And then you've got the newcomers, headlined by Ichiro, of course, and CC Sabathia. Some other good players are there as well, had outstanding careers: Dustin Pedroia, Brian McCann, Ian Kinsler, Adam Jones, King Felix Hernandez, Curtis Granderson. Some very good players are there. We focus on the top end. Case, I know it was funny last year. I look at it, I realized by the time I got to Cooperstown for the official announcement, which will be January 21st, I hadn't done an essay on Adrian Beltrán, because there's like no debate.
Right.
So I've got to do something on Ichiro at a certain point, but like, there's no debate. The debate, let's ask the burning questions for this ballot. The question number 1 is, CC Sabathia a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I think he is. I really do. Third most Ks by left-handed pitcher. Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton are the other 2. For me, when you look at CC, having faced CC Sabathia, this guy was absolutely nasty. 251 wins. I know the 3.7 ERA might be a little high, but at the end of the day, that was when he was playing also in an era where offense was pretty big, and he was a workhorse. You talk about that. He was a horse and an ace. He was a horse and an ace. There's no doubt about it. And you know, CC was so good with Cleveland, was so good with New York, and he won a title. You think about that time he had in Milwaukee. Yeah. I mean, this guy, for me, CC Sabathia, is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yes, my general philosophy is, if you think the guy's a Hall of Famer, fine, make him a first ballot Hall of Famer. I felt better that Joe Mauer went in first ballot Hall of Famer. He didn't have to. Well, you go in first ballot, it's just even better. And with CC, he has championship moments, right?
Big time.
I'm not like just spraying it out there like, oh, he's a winner. But this guy led to winning and championship moments. What he did with Milwaukee was heroic. And the next year, a 1.98 ERA with the Yankees, where they only had 3 starters. He was the ace, led them to a World Series title. I'm completely sold on Sabathia. Now, Billy Wagner is a guy, year 10. This is the last year on the ballot. And I'll just throw it out there. If I say this all the time. If he was number 8 in ERA plus, park adjusted ERA, like number 8, I'd say, all right, you might have a debate here. He's number 2 behind Mariano Rivera. Number 2 in strikeout percentage for guys with 900 innings. He's not number 14 or 13. He's not there with Hoyt Wilhelm or anybody. He's number 1. Number 1. Okay, so like this is year 10, the last year. Will he get inducted?
Yes. Get this right. If you're voting out there, get this right. Billy Wagner's a Hall of Famer. Ask any guy that stood in the box against Billy Wagner. It felt like Mariano Rivera. When you're playing Houston, if you're playing the Phillies and you're playing the Braves, when you face this guy, you're like, game's over, guys. We should have got the starter in the first 6 or 7 innings because Billy Wagner was so nasty. So let's get it right, PK. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, see, I look at, you want to look at save leaders as well. Look, there's all sorts of reasons that you could say, well, again, it's mercurial with relievers, and there's a lot of old-time relievers. I'm in favor of Sparky Lyle, Tug McGraw, Dan Quisenberry to get them in, but that doesn't mean I can't vote for this guy now, who is the modern reliever doing his 65 innings of great work, of a 1.8 ERA most years, and striking out everybody. He wasn't good, he was great.
He was great.
He was great. So that makes all the difference.
And I think with the guns nowadays, you'd have been looking at Billy Wagner throwing 104, 105. Seriously.
5'10". Look, by the way, again, Rivera is the strength of 2 men for his career. It's a 205. ERA plus 100 is league average.
Billy Wagner's number 2. Exactly.
If you say, well, what are you going to do with Joe Nathan? By the way, Joe Nathan was great.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not arguing
but look at Joe Nathan's at 151. Wagner's at 187.
Yes, no.
That's a big jump.
It's a big gap.
It's a big gap.
Here's the other one, and I don't have the answer for this. I'm wondering, and I hope that the level of support is good, but what will the level of support be for Dustin Pedroia year 1?
Man, I played with Petey in 2008 when he was the MVP of the American League. For me, this guy was one of the best players in his generation. There's no doubt about it. I think his career was cut a little short. But, man, when you talk about Cooperstown, look at that. With such a winning player, 2-time World Series champion, obviously 4-time Gold Glove winner, All-Star. He did all the things. And then the MVP, I was on the team with him watching him play. For me, BK, this guy was a flat-out gamer, man. He was a leader in the clubhouse. The way he played the game, he was respected around the league. And I'll tell you what, BK, defensively, this guy could flat-out pick it. And I'll tell you what, he would show up every day at noon to take 100, 150 ground balls to make sure he was ready to go for that at night. So I don't know if he has the numbers to get in, BK. Maybe down the road, who knows? But I just wish he could have played about 3 or 4 more years.
I'm completely with you. He was clearly on a Hall of Fame trajectory, much like David Wright, before his career was relatively short. But nowhere does it say you have to, have that level of excellence for 12 to 15 years. It does not say that. You have to play 10 years. So I'm in favor of peak Hall of Famers like Chase Utley or Don Mattingly or Dale Murphy or Dustin Pedroia, who you're right, to sum it all up.
Lance Berkman.
Yes. Yeah, so I don't want to get you started on that.
But Lance Berkman.
Here's the thing. Like when I say the level of support, I wasn't worried about Chase Utley last year, but like David Wright barely got over 5%. And look at these players that got less than 5% of the vote and dropped off the ballot. Jim Edmonds, Carlos Delgado, Kenny Lofton, like those guys are Bernie Williams, a Hall of Famer, Jorge Posada. You can't tell me he's not a candidate. No. And there's their war. Like these guys are top candidates, if not lock Hall of Famers, and yet you can, because of the yes-no system, you can fall below the 5%. I think they should get rid of that rule. I don't mind having a big ballot. The writers will be able to figure it out. But I hope Pedroia gets over 5%. I mean, it might be tough.
No, I hope he does. I really do. And when you look at that list before, you talk about Joe Mauer being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Go back and look at Jorge Posada's numbers.
There's a great
compare them to Mauer, though.
Absolutely. Even I like looking at, again, we call them the down ballot guys in there, because you can look at this.
So many good players.
Curtis Granderson had 47 WAR in his career. Adam Jones was an excellent center fielder for a long time. Brian McCann, Russell Martin. Troy Tulowitzki was the best shortstop in baseball for a couple of years. So there's high-level guys here as well.
Can I tell you one thing, BK, though? For having been on the ballot, I remember having a conversation with Tom Verducci. He said, you have to have 10 years or more and numbers to be worthy to even be on the ballot.
Right, there's a screening committee for that.
So this is a big deal for these guys.
Absolutely.
I was on the ballot and off the ballot. That's okay. But the fact that I have that ballot at home and I have it framed. No, seriously, it's one of the greatest things, accomplishments. I didn't get into Cooperstown, but you know what? I made the Cooperstown ballot. Right. And those guys that are on it, they're going to be off it. They had incredible careers.
That's I try to point that out even last year for like Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, who fell off the ballot. I'm like, those guys had great careers. Like, it wasn't good careers, great careers. All right, last burning question. Andrew Jones, Carlos Beltrán. Both are sort of within striking distance, not quite. 61% for Jones, 57% for Beltrán. It has been done to make that jump to 75. Do they make it?
I think Beltrán doesn't make it this year, but he will soon. Andrew Jones needs to be in. He's the greatest defensive metrics center fielder of all time, I believe, and he has 434 home runs. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
Well, all right, he also had essentially those 10 years of greatness.
Greatness?
In those 10, 10
Gold Gloves.
Look, I'm sold. Also, look at his volume offensively, because he didn't have the great rate stats, but he was averaging around 300 total bases a year for 10 years. And look, I'm not saying he's better than Willie Mays or Joe DiMaggio, but when in the modern metrics era, he is way up there with the likes of like Paul Blair as great center fielders. It's not disputed. So I'm with you.
He's the best center fielder I've ever seen. You could not hit a ball in the gap on this guy. He played so shallow. He took away those bloopers. This guy was at a different level. Just ask Maddox, Smoltz, and Glavine what they think of him.
Look, there's a reason, right? He's there. He's at 61%. You can make that jump to 75, depending on there.
I hope
Class
he
of
does.
25 announcement will be made live here on MLB Network on Tuesday, January 21st. Join us here on MLB Network for that announcement. Again, have that for you from Cooperstown, New York.